What if the very thing you've been doing every day is the reason your breakthrough has not yet appeared? What if all the searching, worrying, applying, and constantly asking, when will it happen, is keeping you locked in the experience you desperately want to escape? Today, I want to share a truth that has transformed countless lives. A truth so simple that most people overlook it. The moment you stop identifying as someone who is looking for a job and begin seeing yourself as someone already blessed with the perfect opportunity, everything starts to change. The world is not responding to your words, it is responding to your state of being. If you feel unemployed, uncertain, and lacking, life continues to mirror those feelings. But the moment you assume the feeling of security, success, and fulfillment, a new reality begins to unfold. You do not need to know where the opportunity will come from. You do not need to force doors open. You do not need to struggle to make things happen. Your task is not to figure out the path. Your task is to become the person who already has what they desire. So if you're tired of searching, tired of worrying, and tired of wondering when your breakthrough will come, stay with me until the end. Because today, you're going to discover why letting go of the struggle may be the very thing that opens the door you've been waiting for. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they must ask themselves a difficult question. Am I searching because I truly need something, or am I searching because I believe I do not already possess it? Most people spend their lives looking outside themselves for answers, opportunities, success, and fulfillment. They believe that if they could only find the right person, the right job, the right circumstance, or the right opportunity, then their lives would finally change. Yet, what if the source of every change has never been outside of you? What if the world you experience is simply reflecting the beliefs and assumptions you carry within? Many people wake up every morning with a feeling of lack. They open job websites, send applications, and anxiously wait for responses. Throughout the day, they repeat the same story in their minds. I need work. I hope someone hires me. I wonder when my chance will come. Although these thoughts seem natural, they carry a hidden message. They reinforce the idea that the desired condition is absent. The mind continues to focus on not having, and as a result, life continues to mirror that experience. The search itself becomes a declaration that what is wanted remains somewhere in the future. Consider how different life feels when you already possess something. You do not spend your day searching for what you know is yours. You do not worry about obtaining what you already have. There is a sense of certainty, ease, and confidence. The challenge for most people is that they try to create certainty after they receive results. They say, once I get the job, I will feel secure. But the deeper truth is that security must come first. The feeling precedes the manifestation. The inner conviction comes before the outer evidence. The world is constantly responding to the state of consciousness you occupy. If you consistently identify as someone who is struggling, searching, and waiting, you remain emotionally attached to that role. Life then reflects that state back to you through circumstances, experiences, and events. This does not mean you should stop taking practical action. It means that your actions should no longer come from fear, desperation, or a sense of lack. Instead, they should flow naturally from a state of confidence and expectation. Imagine a person who already knows that their perfect opportunity is secured. Notice how differently they would move through the day. They would not panic over delays. They would not interpret every silence as rejection. They would not feel defeated by temporary appearances. Deep within themselves, they would carry a quiet assurance that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. That inner state changes the way they think, speak, act, and respond to life. The greatest shift occurs when you stop making the external world your source of validation. Too often people allow circumstances to determine how they feel. If they receive good news, they feel hopeful. If they receive bad news, they feel discouraged. Their emotional state rises and falls with every external event. But true transformation begins when you reverse that process. Instead of letting circumstances create your feelings, you allow your chosen feeling to shape your circumstances. This requires faith, not faith in distant possibilities, but faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. It requires the willingness to believe in a reality before physical evidence appears. It means refusing to define yourself by temporary conditions. The current situation may suggest limitation, but it does not define your future. What matters most is the state you consistently return to within yourself. So stop searching for confirmation that your desire is possible. Stop seeking signs that your future is secure. Stop looking outside yourself for permission to believe. The power you seek has never been in circumstances, employers, markets, or conditions. It has always been within your awareness. The moment you stop identifying as someone who is lacking and begin identifying as someone who is already blessed, supported, and provided for, everything begins to shift. The outer world has no choice but to reflect the transformation that first took place within. One of the greatest mistakes people make when pursuing a desire is believing that the fulfillment of that desire exists somewhere in the future. They imagine that one day, after enough effort, enough waiting, and enough favorable circumstances, they will finally experience the relief, confidence, and happiness they seek. Yet the secret is that the feeling must come first. The outer experience follows the inner state. If you want to experience the reality of being successfully employed, you must first learn to assume the feeling of already being employed. Most individuals approach life from the standpoint of what they currently see. They look at their bank account, their circumstances, their unanswered applications, and the apparent lack of opportunities around them. Then they allow those conditions to determine how they feel. As a result, they continue to occupy the emotional state of uncertainty and lack. But if circumstances are merely reflections of previous assumptions, then continuing to react to them only keeps the same pattern alive. The key is to stop allowing present appearances to dictate your inner world. Ask yourself a simple question. How would I feel if I already had the perfect job? Not the job you hope to receive someday, but the one you already possess. What would your thoughts be like when you wake up in the morning? How would you carry yourself throughout the day? What kind of confidence would naturally arise within you? How would you speak about your future? The answers to these questions reveal the state you must begin occupying now. The feeling of already being employed is not merely wishful thinking. It is not pretending that circumstances do not exist. Rather, it is choosing to identify with the reality you desire instead of the reality you wish to leave behind. There is a profound difference between hoping for something and living from the assumption that it is already yours. Hope places fulfillment in the future. Assumption brings fulfillment into the present moment. Imagine receiving a congratulatory message from a friend. Imagine hearing someone say, "I knew you would get it." Imagine sitting at your desk, feeling grateful for the opportunity that has entered your life. Imagine telling a loved one about your first successful week. These simple scenes may seem insignificant, but they carry tremendous power because they imply that your desire has already been fulfilled. The mind responds not only to facts but to vividly accepted experiences. When a scene is felt as real, it leaves an impression upon consciousness. What matters most is not the length of the imaginal act, but the feeling it produces. A few seconds of genuine conviction are more valuable than hours of forced visualization. The goal is to generate the emotional atmosphere that would naturally exist if your desire were already realized. Feel the relief, feel the gratitude, feel the confidence, feel the satisfaction of knowing that everything has worked out perfectly. Many people abandon this practice because they immediately look for evidence in the external world. They assume that if results do not appear quickly, nothing is happening. But the unseen movement often begins long before visible results emerge. Just as a seed grows beneath the soil before breaking through the surface, your assumption begins shaping circumstances long before you can observe the outcome. The inner change always precedes the outer manifestation. This is why persistence is essential. Every day you are given a choice. You can return to worry, doubt, and uncertainty, or you can return to the feeling of fulfillment. The more frequently you occupy the state of already having what you desire, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it no longer feels like an exercise. It becomes your identity. When you consistently assume the feeling of already being employed, something remarkable happens. Your attention shifts away from lack and toward fulfillment. Fear begins to lose its influence. Confidence replaces anxiety. You stop chasing opportunities from a place of desperation and start moving through life with quiet certainty. And from that state, inspired ideas, unexpected connections, and favorable circumstances begin to appear naturally. The world responds to who you believe yourself to be. Therefore, stop waiting for a job to make you feel successful. Feel successful now. Stop waiting for employment to bring you security. Feel secure now. Stop postponing confidence until circumstances change. Assume the feeling today. For when you faithfully occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, you prepare the way for that state to become your living reality. After you have accepted the feeling of your wish fulfilled, a new challenge appears before you. It is not the challenge of obtaining your desire, but the challenge of trusting what cannot yet be seen. This is where many people stumble. They may successfully imagine the desired outcome. They may feel inspired for a few moments. They may even experience a sense of certainty. Yet the moment they look at their present circumstances and find no immediate evidence of change, doubt begins to creep back into their minds. They start questioning whether anything is happening at all. They wonder if they imagined correctly, if they believed strongly enough, or if their desire is even possible. In that moment, they unknowingly abandon the state they had previously entered. The truth is that every creation has an unseen period. There is always an interval between the acceptance of an idea and its visible expression in the world. Nature itself demonstrates this principle. A seed planted in the ground does not become a tree overnight. For a period of time, nothing appears to be happening. The surface reveals no evidence of growth. Yet beneath the soil, a powerful process is taking place. Roots are forming, life is developing. Conditions are being prepared for eventual emergence. The same principle applies to every desire accepted in consciousness. The movement often begins long before your eyes can detect it. Most people have been conditioned to trust only what they can see, hear, and touch. They believe reality begins with physical evidence. But true faith operates in the opposite direction. It begins with inner conviction and allows external proof to follow. Faith does not mean hoping that something will happen someday. Faith is the quiet certainty that what has been accepted inwardly is already moving toward expression, even when appearances suggest otherwise. One of the greatest sources of anxiety comes from trying to figure out how your desire will be fulfilled. The mind constantly seeks explanations. It wants to know where the opportunity will come from, who will provide it, when it will arrive, and what steps will lead to the outcome. Yet the more you become obsessed with the how, the more you interfere with the natural unfolding of events. The limited human mind can only perceive a small portion of what is possible. There are countless channels through which opportunities can appear, many of which you cannot currently imagine. Think about the unexpected turns that have occurred throughout your life. Consider the people you met by chance, the opportunities that appeared without warning, or the events that completely changed your direction. Rarely do the most significant moments arrive exactly as expected. Life often works through pathways hidden from present awareness. What seems impossible today may become obvious tomorrow. What appears blocked may suddenly open. What feels delayed may simply be preparing itself in ways you cannot yet understand. Trusting the unseen process means releasing the need to control every detail. It means understanding that your responsibility is to remain faithful to the desired state, not to force circumstances into existence. You are not required to manipulate outcomes or constantly monitor progress. Your role is to maintain the inner conviction that what you have accepted is already becoming reality. This trust creates a remarkable sense of peace. Instead of waking up every day wondering whether your desire will arrive, you begin living as though the answer is already secured. You stop measuring your progress by external appearances. You stop interpreting every delay as failure. You stop allowing temporary circumstances to dictate your emotional state. Rather than asking, "Is it working?" you begin affirming, "It is already done." The unseen process often works through subtle changes before dramatic results appear. You may notice new ideas entering your mind. You may feel inspired to take actions that previously never occurred to you. You may encounter people, information, or opportunities that seem coincidental. These are often signs of movement, but even if no signs appear, your trust should remain unchanged. True faith does not depend upon constant reassurance. The person who trusts the unseen process understands a powerful truth. What has been accepted in consciousness carries within it the power of fulfillment. There is no need for anxiety, struggle, or endless questioning. The bridge between desire and realization is already being formed. Every circumstance, every encounter, and every event is capable of playing a role in bringing the unseen into visible expression. So release your grip on the need to know every step. Let go of the demand for immediate proof. Trust that life is arranging itself in ways beyond your current understanding. Remain loyal to your vision. Remain faithful to the feeling of fulfillment. The path may be invisible today, but that does not mean it does not exist. What is unseen is often far more powerful than what is seen. And in the proper time, what you have trusted inwardly will stand before you as undeniable reality. There comes a point in every journey where your faith is tested, not when everything is going well, but when everything appears to be going in the opposite direction. This is the moment that separates those who remain loyal to their vision from those who surrender to appearances. It is easy to believe when signs are encouraging, opportunities are appearing, and circumstances seem favorable. But what happens when the phone does not ring? What happens when applications go unanswered? What happens when the world continues to present evidence that contradicts what you have been imagining? This is where persistence becomes the most important principle of all. Most people allow external conditions to determine what they believe. They begin with enthusiasm, imagining their desired outcome, and feeling hopeful about the future. Yet as days or weeks pass without visible change, they start to question everything. Doubt begins whispering that nothing is happening. Fear suggests they have failed. Soon, they abandon the assumption they once embraced and return to the old state of worry and discouragement. In doing so, they give greater authority to appearances than to their own inner conviction. The challenge is to understand that present circumstances are often echoes of past beliefs. What you see today may simply be the result of assumptions you held yesterday. Therefore, reacting emotionally to current conditions only keeps you connected to the very state you wish to leave behind. If you want a different future, you must refuse to let temporary appearances dictate your state of mind. You must become greater than what your senses report. Imagine standing before a locked door. Most people would immediately assume that because the door is closed, there is no way through. But what if someone told you that the key was already on its way? What if the delay was only temporary? Would you abandon your destination simply because the door had not opened yet? Of course not. You would remain confident because you know the obstacle is not permanent. In the same way, circumstances that seem to oppose your desire are often temporary stages in a larger process that is still unfolding. Persistence does not mean forcing yourself to believe through exhaustion. It means gently but firmly returning to the desired state whenever doubt appears. Every time fear arises, you return to faith. Every time worry appears, you return to certainty. Every time circumstances attempt to convince you that your desire is impossible, you return to the feeling that it is already accomplished. This repeated return strengthens your identification with the fulfilled state until it becomes natural. Many people mistakenly believe that setbacks are signs of failure. In reality, setbacks often reveal where your faith is being tested. A rejection does not mean your desire is denied. A delay does not mean your desire is forgotten. An unexpected obstacle does not mean your desire is impossible. These experiences only become permanent if you accept them as final. What matters is not what appears before you, but how you respond to it. Consider how differently life feels when you stop treating every challenge as a verdict. Instead of saying, "This is proof it will never happen," you begin saying, "This is only a temporary appearance." That simple shift changes everything. It prevents you from emotionally investing in unwanted outcomes and allows you to remain focused on the reality you have chosen to accept. Persistence also requires patience. Not passive waiting, but confident expectancy. There is a difference between waiting anxiously and expecting confidently. Anxiety constantly asks, "When will it happen?" Expectancy quietly affirms, "It is already on its way." One state creates tension, the other creates peace. One is rooted in lack, the other is rooted in fulfillment. As you continue to persist, something remarkable begins to happen. The emotional charge of negative circumstances weakens. Situations that once frightened you lose their power. Doubt becomes easier to dismiss. Confidence grows stronger. The desired state starts feeling more real than the conditions around you. And when that happens, the outer world eventually begins to reflect the transformation that has already occurred within. Never forget that appearances are temporary, but consciousness is creative. The world may show you reasons to give up, reasons to fear, and reasons to doubt. Yet your power lies in choosing which reality you will accept as true. Persist in the assumption of success. Persist in the feeling of fulfillment. Persist when the evidence seems absent. Persist when reality appears unchanged. For the person who remains faithful to the vision despite opposing appearances eventually discovers that circumstances must yield to a sustained state of belief. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable, and what once existed only in imagination becomes an undeniable fact of experience. After you have stopped seeking outside yourself, assumed the feeling of your wish fulfilled, trusted the unseen process, and persisted despite appearances, there comes a stage where you must learn one final lesson: allow life to rearrange itself. This is often the most overlooked part of the journey. Many people understand the importance of faith and imagination, but they continue trying to control every detail of how their desire should arrive. They decide the exact person who must help them, the exact opportunity that must appear, and the exact path that must unfold. When reality begins moving in a different direction, they become anxious and resist the very changes that may be leading them to their desired outcome. Life possesses an intelligence far greater than the limited perspective of the human mind. While you may see only a few possible paths, countless possibilities exist beyond your awareness. The opportunity you desire may arrive through someone you have never met. The solution you seek may emerge from a circumstance you never anticipated. The answer to your prayer may appear in a form completely different from what you expected. This is why attachment to specific methods often creates unnecessary resistance. The more tightly you cling to one route, the more difficult it becomes to recognize the many others that are opening before you. When you truly accept the state of fulfillment, a profound shift occurs. You stop asking how everything will happen and begin trusting that it will happen. You release the need to manage every outcome. Instead of forcing events into place, you allow yourself to be guided naturally. Opportunities begin appearing that seem perfectly timed. Conversations occur at exactly the right moment. New ideas arise effortlessly. What once felt like a struggle starts feeling like a flow. This does not mean you become passive or inactive. It means your actions are no longer driven by fear. There is a difference between inspired action and desperate action. Desperate action comes from the belief that nothing will happen unless you force it. Inspired action comes from confidence that the path is already unfolding and that you are simply participating in its expression. One feels heavy and exhausting, the other feels natural and purposeful. Think about how often people miss opportunities because they are focused on only one possibility. They become so attached to a particular outcome that they overlook better options appearing around them. They insist that success must arrive in a certain package, and when it comes in a different form, they fail to recognize it. Yet life often delivers answers in unexpected ways. What initially appears to be a setback may become a blessing. What seems like a closed door may redirect you toward a greater opportunity. What feels like a delay may actually be preparation. The person who trusts the process understands that every event can serve a purpose. They no longer panic when plans change. They no longer assume that unexpected developments are obstacles. Instead, they remain open, flexible, and confident. They understand that the rearrangement of circumstances is often necessary before a new reality can emerge. Old patterns must dissolve, new connections must form. Conditions must align in ways that are not immediately visible. As life begins rearranging itself, you may notice subtle signs of movement. New interests may emerge. You may feel drawn toward opportunities that previously never captured your attention. You may encounter individuals who provide valuable insights or open unexpected doors. These experiences are often part of a larger bridge of events leading toward your desired destination. The important thing is not to force them, but to follow them with trust and confidence. One of the most beautiful aspects of this process is realizing that you do not have to carry the burden alone. So much of human stress comes from the belief that everything depends entirely on personal effort. While effort has its place, there is a greater power at work when you align yourself with the feeling of fulfillment. Circumstances begin cooperating, resources appear, solutions reveal themselves, life starts moving with you rather than against you. Eventually, there comes a moment when the desire that once seemed distant becomes reality. The opportunity arrives, the breakthrough occurs, the door opens. Looking back, you realize that countless events had to align perfectly for this outcome to emerge. Many of those events were completely beyond your ability to predict or control. What once appeared random now reveals itself as part of a larger pattern. So allow life to rearrange itself. Do not interfere with the process through fear or impatience. Remain faithful to your vision, but stay open to the many ways it can unfold. Trust that the path is being prepared even when you cannot see it. The moment you release the need to control every detail is often the moment life begins revealing possibilities greater than anything you could have planned. When you live from the end and trust the journey, the world reorganizes itself to reflect the reality you have already accepted within. As we come to the end of this message, remember one thing above all else: your future is not created by endless effort, fear, or desperation. It is created by the assumptions you accept as true. Stop looking at the present moment as proof of what is possible. The present is only the result of yesterday's beliefs. Instead, begin living from the reality you desire. Feel the relief of knowing that everything is already working in your favor. Feel the confidence of someone whose path has already been prepared. Feel the gratitude of someone whose answer has already arrived. You do not have to force life to change. You do not have to chase every opportunity in fear of missing out. The moment you accept the feeling of your wish fulfilled, unseen forces begin arranging circumstances in ways your logical mind could never predict. Trust the process. Remain faithful to the vision. Refuse to return to doubt. Let your imagination become more real than your fears. And as you persist in that state, what was once invisible will become visible. The door will open. The opportunity will appear. The right people will arrive. And when it happens, you will realize that life was working behind the scenes all along. Your job is not to struggle. Your job is to believe. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this message inspired you, take a moment to reflect on the feeling of your wish already fulfilled before you leave. Carry that feeling with you throughout your day and allow it to become your new state of being. If you enjoyed this message, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss future teachings on imagination, faith, abundance, and personal transformation. I truly appreciate your support and your presence here. Until next time, trust the unseen, remain faithful to your vision, and remember the life you desire begins within. Thank you for listening, and may peace, abundance, and success follow you wherever you go.